Hello, folks, and welcome to Old Ass Movie Reviews. I'm Dave. The other guy's Scott, wherever he may be. I like them over here. He likes to be over there.
It's
But
on the days you wear a kilt.
that's
So
Scott. I'm Scottish. I always wear a kilt. Um, damn you! I see what you're doing now. Uh, anyway, I'm Dave. That's Scott, and we are here to review the Ice Pirates, the 1984 comedy. With
and moments
in my,
at
with
times.
Robert Urich, the ever beautiful Mary Crosby,
The
Michael D.
is the
Roberts.
daughter of Bing Crosby. Yes.
Was she the daughter of Bing Crosby?
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
remember.
Yes.
And a young Angelica Houston in leather.
And very young Ron
John,
Perlman.
yeah. John, this guy was huge. John
Matuzak.
Matuzak,
Yeah.
Ron Perlman, John Carradine, Natalie Core, Jeremy West. I forgot this guy until I just brought his name up. Bruce Valanche. Can't believe that was the guy that was just the head.
Yes, he looks so familiar.
And I'd seen him in a bunch of other stuff, and I always see him in interviews talking about movies and stuff. And I saw him in this, and I'm like, holy crap! And I could not think of his name. Alan Kalu and a bunch of other names that I'm not going to go through because there's just like 30 other names in here. But the thing that I found amazing is Ron Perlman is a big guy. Robert Urich standing next to Ron Perlman. I was like, holy crap, Robert
I thought
Urich
the same thing. It's like, what? When? Since when was Ron Perlman a little guy?
Yeah,
I was like, whoa.
Robert Urich must have been pretty big. And then John Matuzak walks in, and he's two heads bigger than everybody. And I was just like, God in heaven, that guy was a monster.
He was.
But he was a football player, and I think he was a football player before all the steroids and everything came in. So I think that was.
Well, I know
like
during the
natural. I think he was
80s.
like corn fed.
Yeah, I know during the 80s, he showed up in a few movies. I believe he's in Caveman. And he was just one of those names that you started to see show up, one of these professional athletes turned actor.
And what was funny is with that guy, Matuzak, he would show up and he was either a heavy or a lovable guy, or he was a heavy that was a lovable guy. Like he only had like a couple of characters that he played, and he could mix all the characters together. And he always slays me every time I see him. He was never just a straight, mean, vicious guy. Like I don't ever remember seeing him in a movie and going, man, I'm glad that character got killed. I remember always seeing him going, oh, he's got like this guy's kind of quirky. He's got a nice side to him. So I wonder if that was always in his contract. Like, I'm a really big guy. I'm very mean on the field. I need to be lovable on camera.
And he was. He's probably the best character, or at least one of my favorite characters in this movie.
Yeah.
Especially when we first see him. The whole cast, our leads are in a jail cell being taken to a planet to be sold off as slaves, eunuchs, if you will. And Matuzak finagles his way into. You can see right now he's very underhanded. He's manipulative. He's a really just a scoundrel, and it's great.
Yeah. But he's a nice scoundrel.
He's
better than the pirates that you're rooting for initially.
Yes.
He's just better at it.
Let's stop a second. I want to talk about this. This movie is an 80s movie. Very for both good and bad. Mostly bad, but there's some good stuff. But anyway, this is a space movie. And it's also a blending of genres. This takes fantasy elements and blends it with sci-fi. It doesn't work well here to have people wearing armor like knights and looking like and having unicorns, for me at least. A good example of blending is Joss Whedon's Firefly of a Western and space. That just makes sense. Of course, it'd go together. But this was a weird movie.
This had some good things. I did like the pirate look of the pirates.
Yeah, very swashbucklers.
I would have switched it up. I don't know how anybody would have done it, but I've always wanted to see this. I've seen it in cartoons. I've seen it in animated movies. anime is really good for this sort of thing. Pirates on pirate ships in space, doing pirate shit,
Yes.
swinging from one thing to another. If they had done that sort of thing, it would have worked better, in my opinion. I feel like this story. Let me give you the good. The good. Robert Urich, guy was great looking, good actor, funny.
Hmm.
Mary Crosby, gorgeous, funny. She shot Jr. What more do you need to know? Um, Michael D. Roberts, it was Roscoe, it was the robot expert.
Hmm.
Um, Good character. Like I think he was probably the most rounded out of all the characters, to
Yeah.
be honest. You had Angelica Houston, young Angelica Houston in leather.
Yeah. What more could
Okay,
you want?
moving on. Uh, and then you, of course, you had like one of Ron Perlman's first movies. John Matuzak, like I said, like you said, I think he was probably one of the better characters in the movie.
Yeah.
John Matuzak, he played Killjoy, was a good character. Carradine showed up for his 3 minutes in the film, and that sets up everything else in the movie. That's the good. The bad is basically the story.
Yeah.
I didn't find it all that funny. There were a couple of moments where that I thought were kind of funny. I've had people tell me this is a great movie. You got to see this movie for like 20 years plus.
Hmm.
And I've always been like, yeah, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I'll eventually, I'll get to
And
it.
I can
It
speak
sounds
to that.
great. I really want to see this movie because everybody's telling me how funny it is. Everybody that ever told me
Mhm.
about this movie was like, the space herpes, it's hysterical. Space herpes. And I'm waiting for this big thing, whatever. I don't know what I was expecting, but what I got wasn't what I was expecting. And I'm looking
Fair.
at that like, that looking around the room. I'm basically, look over a cat, looking at the dogs. The dogs are looking at me. Dogs look at me and say, that wasn't funny. I'm like, I know. It wasn't funny. That's me. Somebody might see this and go, oh my God, Dave, how could you not think that was funny?
No,
I don't think it's my age. How about
it's
you?
not. Okay, so here's the
Okay.
deal. I'm one of those people that said, dude, space herpes. Okay, because everybody who has seen Ice Pirates
Yes.
remembers space herpes. It's
Yeah.
okay. So let's rewind back when we saw this, 1984,
Right.
85. I
Right.
was a teenager. There's a lot for a teenage boy to like in this movie.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Oh yeah.
so and there was a little bit of humor, and it was the humor that we laughed at. Then it's inappropriate at times, but not really
That's the stuff
bad.
that I laughed at, really.
And that's the 1980s of it. I love when they're being prepped to be castrated, which is done mechanically by these jaws.
Those
Um,
children. Oh, that was funny. That to me
and they were
was
being shaved, and somebody was shaving their area, and as he's coming up, the guy doing it just flaming gay. And
yeah,
that was the joke. That was the
that was the
joke, the
joke.
eye exchange.
Yeah. And then he's looking at the one girl and he's like, hey, mate, after this, maybe we can get together later. And the girl starts laughing. She says, you're not going to be up to anything later.
Yeah.
That's the joke. If you know what castration is, that's a joke. Uh, it's just, there was very little that I found funny in this. And I'm looking
Mhm.
back at myself, and I didn't see this. This is the first time I spotted it, or I've seen it. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know if I would have laughed at this even as a teenager.
I
I really
did.
don't. Like, I would have been checking out Marie Crosby, and I'd have been
Hmm.
saying to myself, "Could you get back to Angelica Houston, please? Because
Yeah.
leather and swords and high
Well,
boots, cool."
and that's
That,
what I'm getting at. This is at least for a lot of us who were really fond of this movie. At that time, it drew me in. It was cool. We didn't get a lot.
right?
I'm a sucker for a space movie. Anything to
Oh
do with
yeah, yeah.
space, I'm watching. And
Yep.
that's I think that we didn't have a lot of that outside of Star Wars, which is
Right.
sets the
Right.
bar so freaking high.
Yeah,
Um, so I think I might have been drawn to it then. And that was the last time I
right.
seen it. It's probably been 30, 40 years since I've watched this
Oh,
movie.
all right.
So
All right.
this was, I've seen it multiple times because it used to run on
Right.
HBO in the 80s, like over and over and over. And
And
that's where we caught most of these. Um, so I did not find it nearly as endearing this time.
right.
And I actually got bored. Um, and
Yeah, I was. I'm
so
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it took me. I split it up over 2 nights because it's like, I'm done. There was a few moments I chuckled, and it was like, yeah, it's not. I don't think it holds up. You know,
No, no, it's not a terrible movie. This is the funny thing is, it's not a
it's not.
terrible. If you like Robert Urich, if you like Mary Crosby, if you like Ron Perlman, who's only in it for a few minutes, if you like Angelica Houston and you want to see her in, femdom leather gear, go for it. Uh, who doesn't? but and she was actually kind of a fun character, and I kept
She
expecting
was.
her
I was.
to have a bigger part,
Hmm.
And I did like
Here's.
how they ended her character in this. That not ended like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
her happy ending. She gets the happy
Hmm.
ending in this, and I thought
She's
that was nice.
a neat character because
Yeah,
just her look alone tells you so much about her.
yeah.
Um,
She's a pirate.
and she's a pirate in every sense of the word. She
Right.
is a badass. She is the biggest badass on the ship, actually.
She is.
And you know that just by her look. And then when she finally gets to display it, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
She F's those guys up too, man. You think she's gonna lose, and it's like, no, I guess not.
the dialogue in this movie is one of its biggest problems because it tries to make modern jokes and use modern terminology like words like Tylenol. That'll pull you out when you're watching that. It's like, wait a minute, a Tylenol? What do you fucking know about a Tylenol? And here's
Yeah.
this plastic thing. Here's the tape. This was the most 80s thing I've ever heard. Here's the
Oh yeah.
tape. I brought you the tape. And
Yeah.
it's like, why would you have even called it a tape? You guys got spaceships. We're the fuckers with the cassettes and shit. It's
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
was that kind
Exactly.
of thing. Yes, it made sense in the 80s. I look back, it's like, what? Oh, and how about it was Panasonic, Sony, or somebody had made that space age 8-track player that was round,
Oh
the
yeah.
round
Yeah.
white
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
That thing is all over this movie. It's on every desk because it looks so space age. They used it as a prop. It's like, oh,
It
nice
had to.
8-track.
It had to be one of their donors or
Sponsors.
their
Yeah.
sponsors for this movie. It had to be.
It was everywhere, dude.
That thing, and that's the thing that saves Angelica Houston's life at one point
Yes.
on the bridge. Uh, yeah, I think she was a good character. Killjoy was a good character. Her
Mm-hmm.
character's name was Maida. Maida. I think it's how you pronounced it. Killjoy was John Matuzak. Marie Crosby was just the princess. I mean, she's Princess Karina. And of course, you had Robert Urich. And those two actually had really good chemistry.
They did.
Like you said, they had a terrible script.
Yeah.
And like I said, the movie, it's just not for me. I understand, and I might wind up watching it again one day, but but now I'm prepared for whatever this is. To
Well,
me, I look, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no. I was just gonna say one of the things the space herpes joke worked better in 1984 because it is kind of a spoof on Alien. With the egg they found, and then it burst out of the turkey instead of a chest, and it's like,
Yeah.
an Alien was just a few years before, like 5 years before or so. So
Yeah.
I think
And the
that's why
thing is,
that worked.
I saw the joke. I seen
Yeah.
it. And the joke of her going, how long has this been like this? And,
Yeah.
right. But like,
They're making a herpes joke.
and yeah, and I got that joke. I mean, I got it. It just wasn't funny to me.
Correct.
And I'm like, okay, this joke was so close to me. It was so close to being a very clever play on words or a clever twist of a joke. And it's
They tried
almost
too
like
hard.
they got 2 or 3 writings in, and somebody just said that's close enough. We're out of time. We got to shoot
Maybe
today.
that's it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like that's the problem with a lot of the jokes in the movie. They got their 2 or 3 rewrites, and somebody said, "We don't have any time to do anymore. Let's go."
Yeah.
And
Maybe so.
That's where you got the
because it could have benefited from it because the dialogue is problematic. The basic premise is that water becomes the galaxy's only thing of value. Nothing else matters. So there's a search for the 7th planet, which is Earth. So it's a good setup. I could see
Yeah,
making something epic about this. In fact, it's probably been done multiple times. Or, I mean, hell, The Search for Earth, Battlestar
yeah,
Galactica. Um, are you still there, David?
yeah.
Okay, hold on.
I can.
And we had a little bit of a catastrophe as Tarzan decided to unplug some things. So, but yeah, this story's been done a few times.
Right.
It has this bones to be something better than it actually is.
Mhm.
The I am I find the fantasy blend off-putting. It's weird to me. It's just me. That's my personal opinion.
Right.
Uh, it just yeah, it's not that good, and I don't think I'll watch it again. If I do, it'll be 40 years from now, and well, I'll be dead.
Right. Laying
So,
over my grave. Um, I see in the fantasy aspects, I didn't mind. I think my biggest problem was the fact that they tried to make it a straight comedy. And this
mm,
could have been something, it could have been more of a dramedy. They could have balanced that out a little bit more. Because I was looking at this story thinking this should have been played more straight. This should have been played
yes,
more like
more like Airplane.
we just stole a fucking asteroid full made of ice from this galactic empire, and we're going to take it to this planet that's a desert planet and drop it on there, and we're going to fill up their oceans with this thing, something like that.
Mhm.
If that would have been that and them having to fight for that,
Oh, you'd have got right behind him.
yeah, I think it would have been kind of cool because and again you would have had the ship in space, a regular
It's
sailing ship.
basically a Robin Hood kind of story,
Yeah,
which will
that
always
could have
work.
worked. That could have worked really well, especially with Robert Urich looking like he did back
Oh
then,
yeah, hell,
and
he,
Mary Crosby and Angelica Hughes. They had
yeah,
the cast.
yeah, they
They
did.
just didn't have, I think, the story. But that's me. That's
Or the
me.
budget. Some of the location shoots are rather interesting. I could tell one was like an arena, like a coliseum with the
Yeah,
outer ring.
right.
Shopping malls were used that look like at
Yeah,
night for this.
Kent said that. Kent was like, "Boy, they
Hotels.
really liked to use shopping malls in the '80s, didn't they?"
Yes they
And
did.
I
I
just
mean,
started laughing. I looked at her and said, "It's futuristic."
they were, but she's right. It's the first thing I noticed. Like they're in a fucking mall.
Yeah, right. Why are you guys in a mall again? I see the J.C. Penney sign behind you. I see it. That's funny. Uh,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
no, I get it. It could have been something else. Maybe I was expecting too much, but hey,
It probably
folks,
was overhyped
it
to
was
you.
really built up to me. It was really, really
Fair
built up
enough.
that this is a funny, funny movie. I went in expecting airplane level funny. I really did. I went in expecting at least Spaceballs funny,
Yeah.
and I didn't get that. There was a couple of good jokes in it, a couple of good moments in it. Special effects not that great, but not terrible, especially for probably a really low budget movie.
It's a very low budget movie, at least
Uh,
by
they
Hollywood
had a couple
standards.
the jokes with the alien that he said was a guy and it turns out
That
it
was
was a
good.
girl. That was funny. And they should have played that up even more.
They
I
should
mean,
have.
that they should have played that up like Robert Urich really had the
I would have
banger,
taken it right to
you
the
know?
edge, man.
I would have made, like
It would have went right
it
there,
would have
man.
been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but I don't know. I I can't say yes, but I like everybody in this movie so much that I say give it a shot. You might see something that I don't see. I am just one guy. I take up very small space. This may be your favorite movie. Not judging,
No.
just not my favorite movie. Just
No,
not
not
mine.
mine either. I really liked it in the 80s. There's still some good bits in here, some incredibly questionable bits
Right.
of dialogue that why did you even bother saying some of these things? So
Yeah.
it was I say if you are a fan of 80s movies, just the 80s itself, this is definitely an 80s movie. So
I just saw something as
what's
I'm
that?
flipping
Go ahead,
through the
please.
movies. This is crazy, and it makes total sense why this movie doesn't work well. The film was intended to be a serious sci-fi film with a $20 million budget. MGM slashed the budget to $8 million and had
Oh
the
my
script
God.
rewritten as a comedy.
No, it would have
That's
worked. It would have worked.
They would have made their money back in spades.
It would have had a good movie. It would have been
No,
like
it
you had
would
just,
have,
it's funny, you just said that. You just said that. And there
and
it
I was
is.
just because I always go down and look for stuff while we're talking to see if there's anything interesting that I've not seen. That's one of the first things on there, and I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" You, I don't get it. I don't get it. Freaking movie guys are stupid.
Well,
Look what they've
because
done
they're
to
not
Hollywood
movie
now.
guys, they're
They
bean
started doing it
counters.
back then.
They
Do what? I'm
don't
sorry.
under, I said they're not movie makers. They're not
Right.
creative. They have
Right.
no talent for the art. They only know business, and even that's questionable. So
Oh yeah,
it's,
especially now.
I know it doesn't make any sense. It's when you have people who have the creative ability doing this and running things, we get new stuff, and
Right.
it's, yeah, we're only going to find the risk being taken on the independent film market and your very low micro budget films that
Yeah.
people are just trying to tell stories and get us good stories instead of the next Spider-Man 18 reboot. You know.
Yeah, I just want a good story. Nolan's
Speaking
supposed
of
to be coming out.
reboots, speaking of reboots, I saw Mike Flanagan has been given the reins of the next Exorcist movie, which to me is a solid choice after the disaster that the last Exorcist was.
Wasn't it? Isn't that the same guy that did the last one?
No, no. Mike Flanagan has been doing all the Stephen King adaptation movies and all the miniseries on Netflix,
Oh,
like
okay.
Haunting a Hill House and Bly Manor and Fall of the House of Usher. He is
All right.
he's
Okay.
really good. So I have hope that it won't be a just a piece of crap like the last one.
I think they bit off way more than they could chew with that. Now I don't
Well,
watch
yeah,
these,
because you don't
so
even set into. I mean, yeah, it's you don't step. Those are big shoes to fill.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I appreciate they tried to continue the story,
Mhm.
and that was about it. I really despise that movie for multiple reasons, and we won't go into it. We've talked about it
Right.
on next. Yeah. So,
But the
but
thing is, you're not
anyway,
alone in that. You're
yeah.
not alone. A lot of the people that I listen to for other movie reviews and stuff,
Hmm.
they basically all say the same thing you said, almost verbatim.
Damn,
Like,
that's crazy.
this should have been a great movie.
It should have been. It could have been.
What the hell happened? Kind of thing.
Somebody had an agenda, is what happened,
Yeah.
and that's
And
that's always what
everybody
happened.
says that too. And
Yeah.
these are fans. These are horror fans. These are people
Hmm.
who do indie horror, so they know
Yeah.
horror. And they're like, they did it again. Hollywood, oops, you did it again.
Well,
Yeah,
I should have known it was going to go that way after what I didn't care for what he did to the Halloween franchise.
right.
People want to shit on Rob Zombie, but I like Rob Zombie's films better.
Yeah.
But,
Uh,
hey,
I don't mind Rob Zombie. People give him such grief for putting his wife in a movie, and I'm like, look
wouldn't
at her.
you?
Why
Well, I
wouldn't you
mean,
put her in a movie?
I would put
She's a
my
pretty good
wife, my friends,
actress.
everybody in the movie. Yeah, she's fine. It's just
Not
haters
just
going to
that,
hate.
but she's a pretty good actress. She's pretty
Hmm.
to look at. She
Yeah.
seems really fun.
Hmm.
He seems fun when they're together. It seems to come across.
That's people who don't have any sense,
Yeah,
because no matter what you do, you always surround yourself with people you can count on and trust,
yeah,
and your family. So that's
yeah.
who you're going to work with. If you look at anything in entertainment,
Mhm.
sports, entertainment, it's
Right.
so much legacy of over, and there's a reason for that you see all these
Yeah,
same people together. It's because they work together. So it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
common
They
sense.
they know each other. They trust each other.
Yeah.
Get it?
So
Yeah.
anyway, let's roll it back to the Ice Pirates before Dave and I talk about something completely unrelated.
Like we
Uh,
just
it
did.
it would have worked as a serious script,
Yeah.
like you had mentioned. I really
That
believe
film
that would have
kills
been
me.
good.
That kills me when I read that. That
Yep,
absolutely kills me.
it's usually the case. Usually the case. So I don't necessarily recommend it unless you want an 80s space movie and are bored. Dave, I think, feels about the same way.
Uh, yeah.
Yep. So there you
They did
go.
mention one. They did mention one thing that I wanted to mention because
Hmm.
it was so to me it was so glaring, but it's glaring because I've seen this movie so many times. and I love this other movie. And there's an edit where they're going through the city, and it's the city from Logan's Run. And I looked over at Kat and I said, "Oh, did you notice that city?
Oh my
Did you
God.
notice that scene?" And she's like, "No, what?" I said, "That's Logan's Run. That's the city from Logan's Run." And she's like, "Really?" So after I said it, she's like, "Oh yeah." Oh, I see it now.
Mhm.
But me, I've seen the movie probably 100 times. I love that movie. We need to do
We
a
do.
quick
We
show on
do.
that. But it was just one of those things that kind of took me out. They made a note here that it was edited from Logan's Run, like one of the connections. I was like, yeah, I forgot to mention that. I
You
wanted to
know, and
talk.
that happens a lot. I think
I love I love the poster. Like I want to buy that poster, the Ice Pirates poster.
yes.
I love
It's a
that
great
poster.
poster.
Yeah, it's a great
The
movie
80s
poster.
had great posters, man.
Yeah,
They're great posters. So this, it can be fun, it can be boring, it can be funny, it can be okay, and it can be
yeah,
bad. Just like Dave and I. So you may
yeah.
agree or disagree, but I hope you'd hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe, come back to us. Tell us what you like, tell us what you don't, give us a recommendation for a movie. We may try and work it in. We have in the past. So thanks again
Nothing
for
too
sticking around.
raunchy. Nothing too
Exactly.
raunchy though.
Yeah.
I watch
And-
raunchy on my own, not for
And-
movie reviews.
And we will catch you next week on Old Ass Movie Reviews. Thanks again, folks.
Cheers.